everyone, welcome back to the Wimpy Studio, and today I'm here for a Diary of a Wimpy Kid video for you guys. I know my OG fans are probably freaking out right now that I'm actually recording a video about Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I know it's been a while, I'll admit it. I haven't recorded something about this series since I did the tier ranking earlier this year, where I ranked all 20 books plus the sequels, but we got a new book, and even though it is a spin-off book, and I'm not a big fan of the Rowley books overall, I went ahead and got it on vacation at a bookstore, and it was kind of fun to get a book like the day of release at a bookstore, because I always just get it delivered, and I do think it's cool to get that experience to go and pick it out yourself, even when you're 19 years old. I personally still find enjoyment reading these books. All the book, not just like the Rowley books, but like the Wimpy Kid books in general, the regular series. I don't know, they still make me laugh. I mean, even though the past few books have not been the greatest, to say the least, they still make me laugh. I still get them every year, and they're just such a staple to my childhood. I mean, maybe 10 years from now, maybe once I have my own family, I won't get them anymore, but we'll have to wait and see. Either way, though, they're such a cherished and it's such a special part of my childhood that I will never forget these books, even if I stop reading them. However, these spooky stories, they're not meant for my age, and reading this just made me realize that they're not meant for my age, and that's okay. They're not meant to be. They're meant to be for middle schoolers. You can even debate upper elementary. Once you hit high school, you're not supposed to be reading these anymore. That's pretty obvious. Yeah, I did, and there's definitely other kids. I know people that are older than me that still read these books and talk about them and have their own channels, and that's perfectly okay. I completely support that. I mean, I just don't find the same enjoyment as I used to by reading out of them. Like, I used to be so excited. Now I still, look forward to getting the book every year, and I still enjoy reading them. It's just a different level of entertainment. It's just a lower level, and that makes sense with my age, getting older, and these books, again, they're not geared towards college kids, not even geared towards high school kids, upper elementary and middle school. However, I still found enjoyment reading spooky stories too. In fact, I do think I enjoyed it better than the first spooky stories. I think Jeff has gotten into his rhythm with what he wants to do with the Rowley spinoff show or series, where I really feel like he's struggled so far. He wrote the original Rowley book, which I still think, I ranked it pretty high in my ranking. I still think that was a really good book, and I was really looking forward to the subsequent books told in Rowley's perspective. And then the adventure came out, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but what the fuck is this? What am I reading right now? Because it was such a different, it was, a completely different setting. It was a fantasy, and I knew that going in, but I didn't care for the sudden shift in tone. I think that was my main issue with it. And then the spooky stories, while they weren't bad, I just didn't really care a whole lot about any of them. The spooky stories, too, I think he's more comfortable writing just outlandish plots. I mean, there were some funny stuff, like really funny stuff, I thought, in like stories in the second one. My favorite is The Freezer with Gilbert living by himself. He's this rich billionaire, and he lives with his family, and he's obsessed with this TV show. And he decides that he doesn't want to wait an entire year for the next season to come out, so he freezes himself for 75 years. But we find out that his family tricks him by unfreezing him just so they can get the new streaming password, and then he freezes himself for 100 years, and it actually does work this time. That was my favorite story. That genuinely made me laugh, the whole thing, just because it is so fucked up, but so hilarious. And that is true Wimpy Kid stuff right there, because the thing that Jeff has nailed is not just the outlandish stuff, but the pure carelessness that these characters have to just do whatever the hell they want and to be comfortable in their own skin. That's what I really like about it, because we've seen how selfish Greg Hevely is as a character. We've seen how he treats his best friend. We have seen how Susan and Frank parent Greg and really the rest of the kids, which is not very well, spoiler alert. That should be pretty obvious. They are not the world's best parents. We've seen who Roderick is, we've seen who Manny is, and I do think that's one of the things that Jeff still does really well, is that he stays true to the characters. He does. He stays true to who they are. He doesn't try to change them. He just makes them static, and honestly, I'm okay, because not every book series needs to have character development. And I think these books just it's okay for Greg to just be a selfish asshole. That's the way I see it. It's okay for him to just be selfish, and that's okay. So beyond the spooky stories, or not spook, but beyond the freezer one, there were some other funny ones. The one with the gasp with Samuel, and or Andrew inhaling while passing a cemetery, and him and Samuel swap bodies. Samuel the ghost. I thought that was pretty funny. The extra with the zombie was pretty funny. The mouth with in the belly was pretty funny. I mean, there was some really funny stuff in here, and like I genuinely like enjoyed reading this for what it was. Like I don't have any complaints with this. It was perfectly fine the way it was, and I think it's hard to say what direction is Jeff going to take this series in, this Rowley series, because we know that he wants to keep making the original books, and that's perfectly okay. He can make them for however long he wants. Personally, I was still holding out hope that instead of making a second Rowley Spooky Stories book, that he would pick a different character to write a spin-off series about, like Roderick. I mean, I feel like it was right there, but his explanation was that Diaper Overload was Roderick's book and that he didn't need to do a Roderick series. But I feel like we'd all read a Roderick book, and even people that don't like Diary of a Wimpy Kid anymore, I still think they would read a Roderick book. So I do hope that that happens someday. That would be a dream come true, to get like a Roderick spin-off series. But for now, Jeff is catering towards fans that don't necessarily care for the main books as much, and they just want to read something more lighthearted, something more fun. This feels as it's catered towards upper elementary, where the other books I'd still think could be catered towards middle schoolers. This one just feels, I mean, like I said, it's not catered towards my age, and that's perfectly fine. I think for what it is, it's a fun read. It will make you laugh, and I do think I don't think Jeff should do more of these, in my opinion. He might try to. I think if he wants to continue the Rowley series, I think he should go back to reality and write realistic stuff about Rowley, like, true stuff, like how he writes about with Greg. You can still have some fantasy stuff thrown in, like, because in the most recent books, Jeff includes a lot of Greg fantasizing about things. So I think it's perfectly okay for there to be some fantasy stuff in the Rowley books. I just think he needs to bring it back to reality and have some actual story for Rowley that's not just Rowley writing these stories. I do wish we would have gotten something with Greg or something, because I do like at the end of the first Spooky Stories there was a real life story about Greg and Rowley thrown in at the end, but there wasn't anything about Greg here. Now, I mean, obviously the first story is loosely based off of Rowley and his dad. I assume that's supposed to be Mr. Jefferson there with that very interesting mustache that I don't even know what that is. I think Jeff, I mean, one thing I do like about the Spooky Stories books is that he doesn't put noses on, because the noses in the most recent original books, they're all like the same, this long nose, and here he doesn't even try to include noses for these characters, and I think that's perfectly okay. But he's just kind of given up with some of the artistic stuff, and that's okay. I think it's part of the charm that he doesn't put a whole lot of effort into things like the nose or anything. At the end of the day, the illustrations, to me, aren't why I read. Like, I still read for the lines and the dialogue, because that's what makes me laugh. Usually the illustrations don't make me laugh, but like, for the Spooky Stories, obviously the illustrations are what draws you in more so than the original book. Obviously, you want to see what is being described, and I think kids probably really enjoy the illustrations more than somebody my age would. So would I recommend this book? Absolutely. I mean, it's a fun read. It will make you laugh regardless. It's not like it covers any new territory. It's not like it's real life. It's not. It's just Rowley writing some spooky stories, because why the hell not? I mean, he has nothing better to do with his time, clearly. That's actually not true. He probably does have better stuff to do. He's not like Greg, where Greg just lives a miserable life, and the only thing he can do is write in his diary. Rowley probably does have other stuff he could do, but he chooses to write these spooky stories, so good for him. But yeah, let me know down below if you read this book and what your favorite story is. I think mine is the the freezer. So yeah, thanks everyone for listening. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye everyone.